Why are French farmers protesting? This is a good question because I asked one of my friends living in France to explain precisely to me why the farmers in France are protesting. Couldn't give me a full gist of the reason behind the protest right now. So I just need to go further to try to find the root cause of the protest, so that we can discuss it and explain to people why the farmers are protesting. Because right now the strike is expanding, and it's about to go around Europe. So if it goes around Europe, what will be the effect? Because right now, people coming from France, traveling out to other part of Europe, having problem of passage through the highway because all the highway has been blocked. So now let's explain to each other what the root cause of the problem is. So I want to try to explain through the article of Goose and Sibley, the one I found from Reuters. So they explain to us a bit about what is really going on about the strike of the farmer. Now let's go further. French farmers are blocking roads across the country to demand government action to address numerous grievances as protest in the European Union agricultural sector spread. Here are some issues that have prompted the growing protest movement and how the government could respond. Why are farmers protesting? Farmers in France, the EU biggest agricultural sector, and the producer says they are not being paid enough and choked by excessive regulation on environmental protection. Some of their concerns, like competition from cheap imports and environmental rules, are shared by producer in the rest of EU, while others such as food price negotiation are more specific to France. Cost. Number one, financially, farmers argue that a push by the government and the retailers to bring down food inflation has left many producers unable to cover high costs for energy, fertilizer, and transport. A government plan to phase out a tax break for farmers on diesel fuel as part of wider energy transition policy has also been a flashpoint in an echo of tension in Germany. Two imports, large import from Ukraine, for which the EU has waived quota and duties since Russia's invasion, and renewed negotiation to conclude a trade deal between the EU and South American bloc Mercosur, have found discontent about unfair competition in sugar, grain, and meat. Large imports are resented for pressuring European prices while not meeting environmental standards imposed on EU farmers. 3. Environmental red tape. On the environment, farmers take issue both with EU subsidy. On environment, farmers take issue both with EU subsidy rules, such as an incoming requirement to leave 4% of farmland fallow, and what they see as France's overcomplicated implementation of EU policy, such as in restoring hedges and arable land as natural habitat. Green policies are seen as contradicting goals to become more self-sufficient in production of food and other essential goods in the light of Russia's invasions of Ukraine. Row over irrigation projects. As water resources become a focus in climate debate, the criticism about animal welfare and pollution in agriculture has heightened feelings among aging French farmers' population has been disregarded by the society. What measures could the government take? The government under pressure to defuse the crisis ahead of European election in June and the annual Paris Farm Show next month, has postponed draft legislation on attracting more recruits to farming to add other measures. The government has promised to simplify procedure for farmers. That could mean reduce waiting time for subsidy payment or farmers' project approval or easing paperwork and audit on environmental compliance. The government could drop its plan to phase out the diesel tax break, though it has already softened the measure by staggering the move over several years and offering to reinvest the fund in farming. Some changes would need European approval, the EU approval, such as changing the rule on fallow land, and farmer warn any concession may come too late for this year's production plan. As in previous farming crises, the government could offer emergency aid. It has already pledged funds for wine producers hit by falling consumptions and farmers affected by flood in the north and a cattle disease in the south, but may announce more money and quicker payout. So this is the reason why the farmers are on strike. So Goose and his partner Sibley try to make sense for us about the reason behind the farmers' protest, and that is what I've been, that is what I've tried to analyze and bring out to you, so that you can, just know what is going on as you live in the EU, and the problem is spreading now. You will definitely see this thing also, or this action also in your place of abode. So right now, the solution has been offered, and they all know what the government know. The government knows what they're supposed to do in connection with the European Union law against the farmers. So I think it's better they have to do something about it. So as to call off the strike, because if the farmer continues striking and the government refuses to answer, then we're going to have a lot of problem. That's more than what has been created now. So I think the government should rise up and solve the problem for the farmers. The subsidy, the Russian-Ukrainian war, and mass import from outside, and high cost of production for the farmers here. These are part of the problem the farmers are talking about. So what are we going to do about it? I think the government should rise up, solve the problem of the farmers in France and in the EU generally, so that we can have more food to eat, more milk to drink, and more veggies also, more vegetables also to buy and to eat.
At this highway toll booth 50 kilometers southwest of Paris, a crowd of French farmers reacted to news that they had won significant government concessions, including the scrapping of planned tax hikes on agricultural diesel and a new emergency aid fund for cattle farmers. While some were ready to lift their blockades, the country's main farmers' union says the fight isn't over.
No, we're not stopping here. I'm sorry, but it's not enough. Too many demands haven't been met. And the regulations we're subject to, the imports aren't.
The movement has mobilized an estimated 55,000 farmers, blocking highways, city halls, and distribution centers around the country. Among their complaints, strict environmental standards, unfair competition, increasingly onerous paperwork, and downward pressure on wholesale prices by supermarkets and industrial buyers. Friday saw new Prime Minister Gabriel Attal visiting roadblocks and farms in southern France where the movement had initially kicked off. With France's annual agricultural trade show coming up at the end of February, Attal promised a month of reforms, from simplifying administrative requirements to cracking down on price squeezes by distributors and major retailers.
The government has not only heard you, it has understood you. It's urgent, and I want to tell you today that I want this to be a day of wake-up calls.
The government is keen to avoid a blockade of the capital. It also wants to keep the crisis from contributing to gains for the far right in European parliamentary elections this June.
Thank you for watching. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing so you won't miss out any of our latest video.